How well do you think that you pay attention to people's behavior patterns? As someone who is autistic and has ADHD, I pay attention to patterns really well. I would say my pattern recognition skills are probably a 9 out of 10. And one pattern that I have noticed with Gypsy Rose Blanchard's behavior is a narcissistic characteristic trait called use and discard. The use and discard method is basically like emotional ghosting, but with a little bit of a villain arc. Once they feel like they've gotten what they needed, or you stop serving their emotional, physical, or ego needs, poof, they detach, devalue, and drop you like hot garbage. You go from a VIP to a persona non grata overnight without warning or explanation. And this is something that Gypsy uses with pretty much every single person that we have seen her discard since she unalived her mother. The main character that she has used and discarded was her mother. I went over yesterday how Dee Dee gave Gypsy the life that she wanted. The Disney trips, the princess dresses, all of the attention, all of the validation. And how did Gypsy repay her? With the ultimate price, her life. Her next victim in this use and discard method was Nicholas. Gypsy spent well over 2.5 years manipulating, coaching, and love bombing Nicholas. And Gypsy realized that Nicholas could be a fantasy escape and a real life solution to her life. He was emotionally vulnerable and eager to do anything that Gypsy wanted him to do. He even stated in his interrogation that he would do anything for Gypsy and that he would not have done what he did for anyone else but Gypsy because he worshipped the ground that Gypsy walked on. She used her lies to manipulate and control him. Gypsy leveraged the connection that she pretended they had in order to get him to commit the murder. And it was strategic. And what happened once they got caught? Gypsy immediately threw him under the bus. Just the other day, Gypsy says, I went and testified on his behalf at his trial. Yeah, she may have done that. However, public perception had already been swayed to paint him as the villain, as the abusive ex-boyfriend with sadistic fantasies about unaliving and raping her mother. A narrative that was nowhere near the truth, but because Gypsy was able to get this information out before he went to trial, people believed that that's who Nicholas was. She used him and threw him away like trash as soon as he was done doing what it was that she wanted from him. She went from calling him her prince to him being a sudden burden. Remember in one of the documentaries, she said his room wasn't anything like that she expected it to be. And she was like, why did I give up that for this? Or something along those lines. You can go back and check it. She idealized Nick as her hero and her savior when it suited her, but now he's the so-called villain. She used him to solve a problem, which was unalive her mom. She devalued him once he was no longer desirable, and then discarded and pivoted to self-preservation. Who was her next victim? Ryan. Gypsy saw Ryan as a solution to her getting paroled. He looked really good on paper. He was a teacher, a special ed teacher. No prior convictions, no arrests, and had a very stable upbringing from, what you can read on paper. She loved bomb him, got him to marry her while in prison. So when she got out, she did not have to move in and live with her dad. And he did. He married her, got her an apartment, got her a dog, helped her get set up on the outside world. And when things were no longer what she expected them to be, she dropped him like a piece of trash and moved on to Ken. However, let's not forget Rachel Garlic, her friend from in prison, the one who got out, helped Gypsy create these social media accounts. And as soon as Gypsy was getting released from prison, she no longer wanted to have anything to do with Rachel. This relationship was purely transactional because Rachel no longer served her emotional or social needs. The use and discard tactic is love bombing. Love bombing can come in all forms. This is like excessive compliments from the person to you. You're the most amazing person I've met. I've never felt this way about anyone. The D is fire. When we reconnected, it was like the floodgates opened. Yeah, now you can see the love bombing pretty clearly. This is also constant texting, calling, and for someone who doesn't get a lot of attention, the constant texting or calling can be a little bit of an ego boost. It makes you feel like you're loved, you're appreciated, and somebody actually cares about you. So it can feel flattering in the beginning, and they know that. Another way that they love bomb is moving really quickly. And we see this with every relationship that she has been in. Wanting kids with every single man. Wanting to get married to every single man. And the reason why narcissists move so quickly is because they don't want you to see who they are until they've captured you, until they've hooked you in. Like right now, Ken is hooked in with a baby 1 month after reconnecting. A lot of narcissists will use grand gestures like flying across country to meet you after one FaceTime. Now, I don't think that Gypsy has quite done that, but I'm sure the people who I've mentioned will know about these grand gestures that she's made. And then the future faking. This is about talking about kids, family, house, all the things that they're gonna do. And they love to agree with you in the beginning. So again, they can manipulate you into feeling like you are the person that they've needed and missed all this time. And like Nicholas, she kept saying he was the first person she told. This is a part of love bombing because it made him feel like she trusted him with this information and like he was special because he had access to information that nobody else had. And then they isolate you, but disguise it as, I just want to spend all my time with you, preventing you from actually going out and having true relationships with anyone else. Because if you're having relationships with other people, you're taking time away from them, and therefore they're not as important in your life anymore, and narcissists cannot have that. They have to be the most important person in your life. And then they'll over apologize, like, I'm sorry, I'm texting and calling so much. I just love you so much. I just hate being away from you. And how many times have we heard Gypsy call a man her soulmate? From Dan to Nicholas to Ken to Brian to Ryan. Sometimes it can be hard to spot that this love bombing is not genuine, but you feel a pressure to reciprocate it because you're like, oh my gosh, if this person feels like this about me, how come I don't feel the same way? It's important that we pay attention to her patterns of behavior, because if you're not paying attention, you will become manipulated by her charisma and her charm. She is a very likable person on the surface. I will even admit that she is a likable person. That sweet, soft-spoken voice is very charismatic. It also lowers your cognitive dissonance and catches you kind of off guard because you're like, how can this sweet girl who is so soft-spoken and so well-mannered be so dangerous? That's the manipulation. That's the dangerous part, because she has the ability to persuade you into feeling like she is a good person. Don't be disillusioned, because everything she does is very calculated and primitive. She is not a safe person, and she will continue to collect victims along her wake. If you like videos like this, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notification bells.